It's Konami and it's the early to mid 2000s. What have we got to make a smoothie that epitomises this gaming era? Well, Konami ought to have Metal Gear Solid, so chuck that in. The Matrix was damn popular, so add that. Shadowrun games have been going for over 20 years, a dash of that. And last but not least, badass, overly attractive gun and sword wielding women because fan service. And what do we get? Psy Girls. Psy Girls was originally a series of action figures by Takara Tomy, or just Tomy to us Westerners, a collection of 13 female crime fighters who were members of the Cardinal Garrison paramilitary group, dealing with cyber terrorism in the late 21st century. And in 2004, Konami took up the Psy Girls license to produce a video game. So, out of the girls on offer, who do we have as a protagonist? It must have been a difficult decision because the development team themselves couldn't decide. Well, I believe Ice would be an excellent protagonist. She's a skilled gunslinger with many helpings of sass. Well, I think we should choose the ninja Asuka, great aerobatics and stealthy ninja swordplay. Ninjas? Really? What is this, 1999? Oh yes, and guns are so original. Another shooter, that's what gaming needs. Screw thy face! She's number one on the list, so she's the first obvious choice. Oh wow, that must have took all of 3 seconds of thought. Asuka has much more gameplay potential. And thus the great Psy Girls protagonist war began. Adamant to develop their own vision of the game, the team was divided in twain. The Ice faction continued with making a cover-based shooter with many variety of shootiness, whilst the Asuka faction realised their dream of a stealth-based campaign with much stabbing. This feud continued on well into the development schedule until a great intervention occurred in the form of the boss, and he said unto them, "What the bloody hell are you doing? Why are you making the same game twice?" "Forgive us, sir, we wanted to make Asuka the protagonist until these filthy defectors thought otherwise." "Please ignore these heathens, master. We all assumed Ice would be chosen from day one." "Well, looking at what you produced thus far, I can honestly say, they're both acceptable." "What?" "Yeah, here's an idea. Instead of choosing one over the other, why don't we have both on a disc each in the same package?" And so it came to be. Psy Girls was released as a 2-disc game with both campaigns.
And there was much rejoicing.
Like Resident Evil games of yore, you have a choice of 2, but handled in a similar way? I'm all for added value, but these are obviously not going to be 2 completely different games. I played them both, so let's see how similar and different they are by looking at both campaigns together. Each have 8 stages, but there's no indication of whether they run parallel time-wise, so for the sake of simplicity, let's assume they do. The year is 2058, and the entire global population relies on the advanced network infrastructure for every aspect of life. Until one afternoon on November 11th, the power generators aboard the Sol Gem satellites suddenly shut down, plunging the planet into darkness, causing economical chaos, an event known as Damnation Monday. 26 years later. We first join Ice, and after a bit of fan service, she's called in for a job hacking into the NetJustice mother computer. Psy Girls is a third-person action adventure with a very Konami-y aesthetic. Very shiny, futuristic environments and weaponry. Ice can carry a variety of guns and pick up guns and ammo from downed enemies. And I mean a lot of ammo. Not long into this game and she's already carrying thousands of rounds. In order to hack, you need to dive into Psi-D, or cyberspace. Wow, that really dates this game. Gameplay takes a different turn here as your real-world weapons don't come with you. Enemies are viruses which you defeat with simple punches and kicks. You locate information by using skills, which allows you to download files, jump higher, eavesdrop on other Psi-D users and obtain other skills. Each dive has a 10-minute time limit, and if that ends before logging out, game over. During a difficult part of the hack, Ice is logged out just in time by a member of CG. Meanwhile, here we meet Asuka. Asuka and her brother Kagetsu are headed to an enemy village to seek vengeance for their father. Asuka's fighting style, as you may have guessed by now, is much ninja. Getting around is much easier due to her superior acrobatics and ninja hook. Hacking are not the only mechanics. There are quite a number of puzzles to solve, finding hidden rooms to unlocking secret areas, to typical and unorthodox ones later on.
Find what you're looking for?
During obtaining the required info via Side-E, Kagetsu is captured. During the standoff, a sudden explosion conveniently throws Asuka, unharmed somehow, into the rescuing arms of CG. Meanwhile, after Ice escapes from the Net Justice building, her and her hacking buddy Sanchez are ambushed and imprisoned by the game's antagonist FGC. FGC are your typical evil corporation. Learning the effects of Damnation Monday and how vulnerable the planet became, FGC plan to recreate it once more with the help of a space elevator. Yeah, this plot is silly and convoluted. After escaping the prison, fighting the warden, then immediately followed by another misleading boss encounter, Ice is officially recruited by CG. Meanwhile, at the Eastern Net Justice building, which is pretty much exactly the same as the other one, Asuka has been sent to retrieve more info on FGC's plans. Whilst diving and the power of block pushing puzzles, she discovers information about the Margiana gene.
That's right, you have the gene. That was a perfect dive.
Which allows Asuka and Ice to easily side-dive. The reason why CG and FGC are both interested in the duo. Green Mile! At an ancient Peruvian temple, wait what? An important man for CG, Professor Zukovsky, needs to be located before FGC finds him. A bit of location whiplash, but this definitely has the most pleasing puzzles. Blue Flare! At the exact same location. This is the only stage that Ice and Asuka are at the same place at the same time. They're both tasked with meeting with an informant for additional data and more information about the space elevator in India. Since Asuka and Ice are both CG members, they're aware of each other's presence, right? Well, no. In the one cutscene they share in the entire game, they don't know each other and they nearly fight until CG intervenes. They're both CG, yes, but part of different teams. Teams that don't communicate, apparently. But I'll get on to what I think about the relationship between the two campaigns. Meanwhile... Okay, I'm going to stop doing that now and cut to the chase. Both teams end up at the space elevator to thwart FGC. They never cross paths, of course. Bosses are fought, more puzzles and diving occur to prevent a second Damnation Monday. A lot of effort has clearly been poured into this. The combat is satisfying and fluid, puzzles are pretty typical but done well, and the side diving adds a different and dynamic hacking element instead of what could have been the usual minigame of Pipe Mania or Find the Password. Now, did this need to be two campaigns on 2 discs? Not really. The only real differences, apart from 2 characters, are different puzzles and boss fights. Ice and Asuka visit the same locations for the most part, and do almost the same things. You don't need to play one in order to access the other, and beating both doesn't unlock a true ending. Overall this, or should I say these, are good. Playing both right after the other isn't recommended as it makes it feel a bit overdone. If you only play one disc, don't worry about it. Having the 2 is kind of unnecessary. 2 versions of the Exorcist prequel were produced, and despite those being very different, you don't really need to see both to fully understand the overall plot.